My name is Eric. I'm 29, and until last year, I thought I understood what family meant. Not the Hallmark card version, but the kind you build your life around, even if it means carrying more than your share of the weight. I've always been the quiet one, the responsible son, the one who sends flowers on birthdays and picks up the slack when nobody else even notices there is slack. But I didn't grow up thinking I'd be the backbone of a family that constantly made me feel like I was disposable. That part happened slowly, almost quietly, like rot under the floorboards you don't see until it all caves in. Growing up, I was the middle child. My older brother, Adam, was the golden boy, varsity football, charming, always with a crowd around him. My younger sister, Mia, was the princess from the moment she was born. And me? I was the one who got B-plus grades and was told I wasn't living up to my potential. I didn't mind, really. I kept my head down, got a scholarship, moved out, and eventually started my own small IT firm that, by some miracle, took off after 3 grueling years of ramen, 16-hour days, and getting ghosted by every investor I pitched to. The funny thing is, when I was struggling, they were silent. But when the money came in, that's when I became family again. It started small. My dad asked if I could help cover the remainder of Adam's car payments, just until he gets promoted. Then came Mia's private college tuition, only because the financial aid didn't cover enough. My mom needed help with the roof repairs, then the heating system, then the kitchen remodel she always dreamed of. And just like that, I was paying for 3 households and still getting texts like, "Can you Venmo me for the groceries?" At first, I didn't mind. I was grateful I could help. I even convinced myself I was building something, a legacy, maybe. I figured one day I'd be able to look back and say I made life better for the people I loved. But something about the way they treated it, like it was owed, like I wasn't doing anything special, started eating at me. Last Thanksgiving was the turning point. I hosted, not because I wanted to show off, but because I finally had a home big enough to seat everyone. I had it catered, cleaned, set up a fire pit in the backyard. Nobody offered to help, not even with dishes. Adam made a toast halfway through, talking about how lucky we are to have each other and how family always comes through, never once mentioning the fact that I paid for the whole thing. Mia brought her new boyfriend and barely looked up from her phone. And my dad? He spent the entire evening talking about how things were tougher in his day and how kids now have it easy. I swallowed it all with a smile. But inside, I was already pulling away. Then came the night that unraveled it. It was a random Tuesday, maybe 2 months later. I had just finished a long meeting and came home to a voice message from my dad. His voice was clipped, tired, and sharp in the way only dads know how to be. He said, "All you do is take. You've never given this family anything worth remembering. If you had any pride, you'd stop acting like we owe you something and just leave." It stunned me. For a second, I thought I misheard it. So I played it again. "All you do is take." I didn't yell. I didn't call back. I just stared at the message for a while, then walked over to the window and looked out at the city lights I used to love. Something inside me gave out quietly, like an old hinge snapping under weight. I packed a bag that night and left. No dramatic goodbye. No announcement. I even let my assistant know to pause all outgoing payments tied to family accounts. Just a clean, silent break. 3 days went by. Then a week. Radio silence. No one called. No one texted. It took them almost a full month to notice. Mia was the first. She called me late one Friday night, her voice shaky. "Eric, hey, I just logged into the school portal and my tuition didn't go through this month. Did something happen with the account?" I could hear the panic she was trying to smother. That fake casual tone you use when you're trying not to sound desperate. I replied with just one text. Thought I never gave this family anything. No follow-up. No explanation. Just that. She didn't respond. But within the hour, I had 4 missed calls from my mom, 2 from Adam, and 1 from a number I didn't recognize. The voicemail from my dad? Hilarious in a dark way. "Eric, we need to talk. Whatever this little stunt is, it's not funny. Your sister's future is on the line. No apology. Just demands. Just that same old tone that said you owe us." That weekend, I flew to Denver. I'd never been, but I needed somewhere far enough to feel like I'd escaped orbit. I stayed in a small Airbnb overlooking the mountains. Slept better than I had in years. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't check my email. I didn't open any messages. I let the world spin without me. And back home? That's where it all started falling apart. Mia's school sent a notice of pending withdrawal due to non-payment. Adam's car, still unpaid, was repossessed. My parents' mortgage payment bounced. And just like that, the foundation they built on my silence cracked wide open. They started reaching out to extended family, telling their version of events, how I cut them off out of nowhere and abandoned my responsibilities. But the thing is, you can't rewrite a story when too many people already know the truth. And a few of my cousins? They knew. They'd seen the pattern for years. I got a message from one of them, Emma, my mom's niece. She said, "I've always admired how patient you are, but I'm glad you finally stopped being their safety net." That message hit harder than I expected. Because the truth is, I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. But once you take away the thing they use to control you, once they realize they need you more than you ever needed them, that's when the real unraveling begins. I spent a week in Denver, mostly doing nothing. I'd walk to a little coffee shop near the Airbnb every morning, journal for a bit, then wander around downtown just to remind myself what uninterrupted silence felt like. No buzzing phone, no obligation, no one asking, "Can you just do me one more favor?" It was strange, at first, how foreign that calm felt. Like I had to unlearn the habit of bracing for someone else's disappointment. By the second week, I'd rented a car and driven out to Boulder. I hiked alone, something I'd always wanted to do but never got around to, because every time I planned a trip, someone in the family needed a bailout. A broken AC. A late credit card. Mia once called me from a resort in Cancun saying she lost her wallet and needed me to wire her emergency cash. That memory popped into my head as I stood at the edge of a cliff trail, wind cutting through my jacket, the entire valley stretched out below me. I laughed out loud, really laughed. It echoed off the rocks. It took 3 full weeks before my mom broke the silence with something more than passive-aggressive voicemails. She emailed me. The subject line, "We need you to come home." No greeting. Just a long block of text that started with, "I don't know what's gotten into you," and spiraled into, "Your father is furious." Then, "We've done so much for you," and ended with, "Family doesn't abandon family." I stared at it for a long time. Family doesn't abandon family. Except they did. Every time they made me feel like a debit card with a heartbeat. Every birthday they forgot. Every time they took money from me without a thank you. Every holiday where I sat in the background while Adam gave his speeches and Mia got showered in gifts. They didn't call it abandonment. They called it tradition. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to my lawyer, Daniel, who'd helped me set up a trust fund years ago. I told him to start the process of transferring the remaining educational payments to a scholarship program for first-gen college students, the ones who actually needed help, the ones who wouldn't laugh behind my back while draining my bank account. I also asked him to look into who was listed on the deed for the lake house, the one my parents used every summer, paid off in full by me, under the false promise that it would be a shared family investment. Turns out, my name was still on the paperwork. So I made a decision. That Sunday morning, I booked a flight back home, not to reconcile, not to be guilt, but to collect receipts. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I landed around noon, picked up a rental, and drove straight to the house. The same house I helped renovate when Dad threatened to sell it unless someone paid to fix the water damage. It looked the same, familiar and fake, like a movie set built to look like home. As I pulled up the driveway, I saw Adam's old pickup parked outside. I figured he moved back in after the repo. I didn't knock. I walked in with the spare key my mom forgot I had. The moment I stepped into the living room, I heard voices. "He's being dramatic," Adam was saying. "He'll come crawling back once he gets over himself." Mia's voice followed, quieter. "I just don't get why he's doing this. I mean, it's not that much money to him, is it?" My dad grumbled something I couldn't quite make out. Then, loud and clear, "Eric's always been the weakest, hiding behind his computer, acting like money makes him special." I stood there in the hallway, unseen, as they continued tearing me apart like I wasn't the reason the lights were on. I didn't cry. I didn't storm in. I didn't even feel anger. Just confirmation. They never saw me. Not really. I backed out quietly and drove to the lake house. I walked through the front door, took one long look at the open-plan kitchen, the wall of family photos that didn't include a single one of me, and started snapping pictures for the real estate listing. By nightfall, my lawyer had everything he needed to initiate the sale. That was Saturday. On Monday, I sent one final message in the family group chat. "You said I never gave this family anything. So I'm finally giving you what you've always acted like you wanted: distance. No more tuition. No more car payments. No more roof repairs. Sell your own memories. I'm out." I left the group chat and blocked them all. I thought that would be the end of it. But what I didn't realize was just how deep the web of dependence had gone and how fast it would unravel once I cut every thread. Because within the week, Mia was facing expulsion. Adam? Fired after missing too many shifts trying to figure things out. My parents? Let's just say their bank called with questions about a mortgage they could no longer afford. And me? Well, I was already halfway to the airport for a new trip. This time, Tokyo. First class. No guilt. No strings. But the real kicker? What happened the next time they tried to crawl back? I was somewhere over the Pacific when my phone finally caught up to the chaos I'd left behind. Dozens of missed calls. Voicemails from numbers I didn't recognize. Friends of Mia, probably, or someone trying to talk sense into me on my family's behalf. There were texts from my dad that looked like they started as threats, but quickly unraveled into desperate half-sentences like, "We didn't mean it that way," and "You're still our son." That one made me laugh. I didn't listen to a single voicemail, didn't open any of the attachments. I just watched the notifications stack up like a silent slideshow of panic. It's funny how people who say you've never given anything suddenly remember exactly how much you gave once it's gone. Tokyo was everything I needed: clean, quiet, anonymous. I wandered through temples and neon-lit arcades, let my mind breathe in a way I didn't know was possible. No guilt weighing down my shoulders. No surprise emergencies. For the first time in my life, I was just me. Not someone's backup plan. Not the family fixer. 2 weeks into the trip, I finally unblocked just one person, Emma, my cousin. She'd sent a single message during the whole fallout. No pleading, no drama. Just, when you're ready to talk, I'm here. Not to convince you, just to listen. I met up with her after I got back. We sat in a cafe near her apartment, and she brought her laptop. "I want to show you something," she said, sliding it across the table. It was a Reddit thread. Of all things. Mia had posted, under a throwaway account, asking for financial help to stay in school after an unexpected family emergency. She told a story that painted me as the unstable one. Said I'd abandoned the family for no reason. Claimed I was having a breakdown. People were donating money. Strangers. Emma looked at me, tight-lipped. "She's raised almost 6,000 so far. I figured you should know." I stared at the screen, feeling a twist in my gut that wasn't anger so much as sadness. There it was again. That same story, reshaped to fit the victim role. Only this time, she was doing it publicly. Monetizing it. Weaponizing strangers' sympathy. And worst of all, she still didn't see what she'd done. That night, I didn't rage post or call her out directly. I did something quieter. I took screenshots of every payment I'd made toward her education, bank transfers, tuition receipts, even the textbook fund I'd wired during her freshman year. I uploaded them in a private Imager album. No names. No dramatic captions. Just dates, dollar amounts, and payment confirmations. Then I posted one anonymous comment on the thread. "Before you donate, maybe ask where the other $90,000 went." Some people forget who helped them when the help stops. It didn't go viral. It didn't need to. But within 24 hours, her post was removed by moderators for suspicious activity, and the comments turned. That was the first real consequence any of them faced. The second came a week later when I received a certified letter at my office. It was from my dad, not handwritten, typed like some legal notice. It opened with, "We are formally requesting a meeting to discuss the breakdown of our family dynamic." I almost choked laughing, like they were trying to hold a board meeting to fix what they broke. But buried in the legalese was the real reason they reached out. They wanted a portion of the proceeds from the lake house sale. Apparently, they believed they had emotional equity in the property. I passed the letter to Daniel without a word. He read it, smirked, and said, "Want me to send them a reminder that emotional equity doesn't hold up in court?" I nodded. And then we did one better. We sent them a copy of the original agreement, one Dad had signed years ago when I first offered to pay for the lake house. It clearly stated, in his own words, "I acknowledge that this home is purchased by and remains the property of Eric, last name. I relinquish all future claims." He'd forgotten, or hoped I had. That letter shut them up real fast. But the silence didn't last. Not once word got out that I was selling the main house too. See, while I was in Tokyo, Daniel and I had been working on a quiet side project. Turns out, years ago, I'd loaned my parents a large sum under a verbal agreement when they couldn't keep up with the mortgage. They'd never paid me back. Daniel tracked every deposit, compiled every wire transfer, and we filed a lien on the house. They now owed me well over $80,000, which meant I could legally force a sale. Emma called me that night. Eric, they're panicking. Your mom called mine in tears. Your dad's threatening to go on social media. I sighed. Let him. I've got receipts. Let's see who wins that PR war. But what I didn't tell her, that I wasn't doing this for revenge anymore. I was doing it for closure. Because what none of them realized was that I had given them everything, my time, my savings, my loyalty, and they mistook it all for weakness. They thought I was a faucet they could twist on whenever they were thirsty. And now they were learning what thirst really feels like. And yet, the most satisfying moment hadn't even come yet. Because the day the house went up for auction, I walked through the front door one last time. I parked across the street the morning of the auction. The air had that sharp, stale chill that always hung over our neighborhood in the early fall. I sat in the car for a minute, just watching. It was surreal seeing the home I grew up in, this place that had absorbed so much history, joy, bitterness, now with a small white sign staked in the front lawn. Notice of foreclosure. Auction today. No trespassing. I got out, hands in my pockets, walking slowly toward the house. The door was already open. Daniel was inside, speaking with the auction rep, a middle-aged woman with a clipboard and a no-nonsense look. He nodded when he saw me. You don't have to be here for this, he said, gently. I want to be. And I did. Not for vengeance. Not for the spectacle. But because this moment deserved a witness, someone to see it, feel it, and make sure it didn't just slip by like everything else I'd swallowed over the years. I walked through the living room, slowly, as if I were trying to absorb it all one last time. The dent in the hardwood from when Adam threw a baseball inside. The faded stain on the carpet where Mia spilled nail polish and blamed it on me. The wall where my parents used to pin up report cards and drawings until they quietly stopped adding mine. It was strange how little of myself I saw here. Like I'd been a ghost in my own family story. I stepped into the kitchen next. That one hit harder. I remembered late nights helping Mom prep for holiday dinners, scrubbing dishes while she pretended not to hear Dad ranting in the other room, laughing with Emma over burnt pies and undercooked turkeys. And now? It was just a kitchen, a box of walls and forgotten effort. There was a photo still on the counter, one of the entire family, taken 2 Christmases ago at my expense. I remembered paying the photographer's deposit, the matching outfits they insisted on, and how they cropped me out when they posted it online. I picked up the photo, looked at it for a long moment, then turned it face down. By noon, a few cars had started to arrive. A couple of serious bidders, some curious neighbors. And then, finally, my family. They pulled up in Dad's old Chevy, all packed in like some twisted family road trip. Mia got out first. Her face was blotchy, red-rimmed eyes behind oversized sunglasses. Adam followed, scowling, clearly here just to play enforcer. And then my parents. Mom looked worn down, 10 years older than the last time I'd seen her. Dad, well, he still walked like he thought he owned the ground. He spotted me instantly. Eric, he called out, voice low and bristling. We need to talk. Now. I didn't move. He strode up, Adam a step behind him like a shadow. You're really doing this? Dad said. You're going to humiliate your own family? Over what, exactly? Some perceived slight. I looked him in the eye for the first time in years. It's not a slight, I said calmly. It's a pattern, and it ends today. You ungrateful little, he started, but I raised a hand. Don't. Just don't. Mia joined them now, her voice cracking. I'm going to lose my scholarship because of this. I had to drop 2 classes already. Why are you doing this to us? I turned to her. I paid for your first 3 years. Every tuition bill. Every textbook. You never said thank you. Not once. Instead, you let them convince you I was the problem. I didn't, she started. You posted online that I was unstable, I said, pulling out my phone. You lied to strangers for money. And now you want sympathy? Her face crumpled. Mom finally spoke. Her voice was hoarse. We're a family, Eric. Families don't do this to each other. No, I said. Families don't take like this. You took everything, my time, my money, my trust. And when I stopped giving, you called me selfish. The auctioneer's voice rang out then, sharp and professional. We'll begin the auction in 5 minutes. Dad looked around, suddenly less sure of himself. You can't do this. You wouldn't even have this house if it weren't for us. You're right, I said. So I'm taking it back. They stood there, rooted to the driveway, helpless for the first time in years. And I walked away. The house sold within the hour. A retired couple from out of town, looking for a place near their grandkids. They paid in full. I signed the paperwork, handed Daniel the keys, and never looked back. 3 weeks later, the moving truck arrived. My parents tried to fight it, claimed they had rights. But the court order was clear. They had 30 days from the date of the sale. No exceptions. They didn't even pack everything. Just grabbed what they could and left the rest in piles. Years of clutter. Boxes of old trophies, broken appliances, forgotten memories. One of the movers found a journal of mine tucked in a box labeled junk. It was from high school. I flipped through it. Every page was full of goals: get into college, start a business, buy a house, take care of my family. Funny how none of those dreams ended the way I thought they would. I donated the furniture, trashed the rest. Emma helped me close out the estate. She was the only one who stayed neutral through it all and the only one I trusted. When it was over, she hugged me for a long time. "You did the right thing," she whispered, "even if it doesn't feel like it yet." And she was right. It didn't feel good, not in the traditional sense. There was no soaring victory, no final confrontation with slow clapping applause. Just silence. A sharp, echoing silence that slowly gave way to peace. I moved shortly after that. Bought a loft in a different city. Smaller. Simpler. But mine. No secret bills. No guilt. The calls eventually stopped. The emails dried up. And over time, even the bitterness faded. I didn't hate them. I just disconnected. Like finally cutting the last thread of a frayed rope that had been dragging me underwater for years. One night, I sat out on my balcony, sipping tea, watching the lights flicker in the building across the street. I thought about that last Thanksgiving. About the toast Adam made. About the way they all smiled like they were in a commercial, completely unaware that the glue holding them together was cracking. And I realized something. They were never really a family. They were a system. A system that only worked as long as I stayed silent, stayed useful, stayed small. And now? Now they had to learn how to stand without me. I got a message a few months later. An email. From Mia. I don't expect a response. I just wanted to say, "I get it now. And I'm sorry." I read it twice. Then once more. And then I archived it. Not out of spite, but because I no longer needed closure from them. I already had it from myself. And for the first time in my life, that was enough.